It's been called North Korea's most significant weapons test in years. The reclusive regime has confirmed it has launched a missile that can reach U.S. bases in the Pacific. State media said the weapon was a Hwasong-12. That's a ballistic missile of intermediate range. It is capable of hitting the U.S. territory of Guam with a nuclear warhead. It's the first time the North has tested a missile that size since 2017. The report said pictures of the Earth were taken in space from the missile's nose cone. Its flight was first detected by neighboring South Korea and Japan, which condemned the test.
The series of actions by North Korea, including the repeated launches of ballistic missiles, threaten the peace and security of Japan, the region, and the international community. Such intense ballistic missile launches are in violation of relevant Security Council resolutions, and our country has made a strong protest to North Korea.
For more now, I'm joined by Josh Smith. He's a senior correspondent with the Reuters news agency in Seoul. Josh, we keep hearing about these tests, and South Korea and Japan and the US have been quick to voice their concern. Do we need to be concerned?
So all of these missiles have been smaller than the really large intercontinental ballistic missiles that got a lot of attention back in 2017 when North Korea tested them. Those are the ones that could reach as far as the United States. But one thing that analysts have increasingly pointed out, and that officials here in Seoul and Japan, as you mentioned, have said, is that these missiles that North Korea has developed lately are increasingly capable. And they are the types that could be potentially used in the case a war ever breaks out. And so for people that are down here, potentially in the firing line, amid all of these tensions, it is something that is very concerning. And military analysts and officials alike say that North Korea is making real progress in increasing these capabilities. They're not for show. They're not purely a propaganda tool. They do have real military potential.
We talked about the propaganda there. This was the biggest missile North Korea has tested since 2017 and follows months of smaller tests. However, contrary to 2017, there's been far less of the bombast and the shrill threats from Pyongyang this time around. Can we make anything of this?
That's correct. There has been much less talk of fire and fury that we saw in 2017. North Korea has mentioned its displeasure with the United States, particularly with sanctions and with ongoing military activities by the United States and South Korea here. But it's really all of its state media coverage of most of these tests have really focused on the technical aspects of it. And leader Kim Jong-un only showed up at one of the 7 tests, unlike many of the tests back in 2017. And this is something that analysts point to as evidence that North Korea is in many ways trying to normalize its tests. In fact, get the world to accept that these are normal self-defense operations by a country that is just trying to protect itself.
Let's have a look at the timing of this test. While diplomats are working around the clock at the moment to prevent a Russian invasion in Ukraine, relations with China at their worst in years, what do you read into the timing of this missile test?
So there are a lot of internal things going on in North Korea. Outside of that, this comes ahead of some very key holidays that they usually like to show a display of their military power around. And they, of course, have some economic crises. So this is, in part, a way for the government to show strength in the face of those problems. At the same time, analysts and officials that we've talked to have noted that North Korea could be taking advantage of a bit of a distraction by a lot of the world. It's seeking to continue to make these real military advances at a time when the United States, its allies, other countries around the world only have so much bandwidth to concentrate on, calculating perhaps that they can make some progress with less of the attention that they got in the past.
Josh Smith there in Seoul for us. Thank you, Josh.